6:30. All right, I will call the meeting to order. Its agenda, date, time, and location were properly announced. Thank you all for coming. Thanks, Ken. We will start off with the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of September 18th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve? Rainey, is there a second?
Second.
Chris? Okay, I gotta get back to these.
Yeah.
The
we all
votes
sound
again, yes.
similar, huh?
All right, any questions or corrections? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have payment of the bills. And is there a motion to approve the month of September in the amount of $1,256,866.91?
So moved.
Chuck, is there a second? Katie, any questions or discussion?
There was one question we had on this by Rini. And Rini, your eyes are fantastic. With the one check, we had one check that was missing from last month to this month. And Patty, thank you for looking at that. What happened with that one was, you want to talk,
An August 31st payroll check. Somehow the ACHL payroll that didn't go to the employee. So how we will go to the annual check on 1st of September. And my report doesn't pull the payroll check. So that's how it was just lost. So I didn't even notice it.
good catch, that was the 31st and the first type thing, so.
And the Disney one, that's a prepayment of the trip.
Which one is
Right
that?
here.
On the last
The last sheets, I'm trying to get
Right
it.
at the top. The question is the Disney Destinations
Oh.
LLC.
That is our band trip, I would say is that one, yeah. Which is coming up here the week of Thanksgiving. And that is, we pay it and the kids do the fundraising, so all that money comes back, so
That's
that's,
what I was
yeah,
thinking.
yep,
actually had the money.
okay, even better, thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And then we have the cash summary.
I didn't have any questions, and you know what, I think it's pretty much the same as all the other months, so if there's no questions, we're good.
All right. And donations.
Yes, again, we have quite a few donations here. As you can see, Mrs. Argue got the Classroom of Calm Kiddos for $260. We have Mrs. Dom for Breakfast Made Easier for some trays for $210. Comfortable Cozy Experience for Mrs. Surges for $500. And like to thank the Zion United Methodist Church Bible School. Dropped off a big supply box of supplies and a check for $400 for things that teachers may want to get that aren't covered by budgets and all that other stuff. So thank you to everyone.
Great. Yes, thank you. Does anyone have any questions on that? All right, that takes us into public comments, and I do have a list, and we will be using a mic. Request to use the mic, and I first have Stacy Schluterman for class selection.
I heard something during last month's meeting. I listened to all of them on YouTube, and I know I reached out to a couple of you. But the more I thought about it and the more I thought about my school experience, the more I decided I needed to come tonight. I know that the intent of eliminating officers was really just to ensure that the junior class had a successful prom. But I think that the focus on prom left the students with not only a missed learning opportunity, but it set them apart from their peers. In an era in increased awareness of diversity, equity, and inclusion, the class of 2025 has been marked with a scarlet letter indicating they're not as reliable as other classes, and they can't be trusted to select officers. What message does this convey not only to the junior class, but to the other classes that surround them? For one, most, if not all, of the juniors and seniors are going to be able to vote in the next 2 years. We hear all the time about voter apathy amongst our youth. This is going to help increase that. My vote doesn't count. My vote didn't count enough to even have a vote. I'm also afraid that they missed out on learning what happens if you elect somebody based on popularity versus based upon qualifications and skills. My concern is that that's going to now instead happen in real life when they vote for school board, when they vote for governor, when they vote for senator, when they vote for president. How would you feel if somebody said to you, I saw your post on Facebook, and I know that you supported candidate X in the last election, and candidate X didn't do a good job and couldn't be trusted, so now you don't get to vote in the 2024 election. That's ultimately what was done. And I know that Mrs. McDonald and the staff advisors did not intend this. I heard the message loud and clear that they heard, and they've learned from it. But I also sat here 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, when we talked about a prom where elections were no longer in existence. And that same message was said. I know what happens. You see the issue and you laser focus on how am I going to correct that issue. But what I do when I go to my clients is I can't just look at the immediate issue, because if I do that and I say, hey, we can do all of these fun things, and all of a sudden they can't get their tax return filed on time, that doesn't work. That doesn't work in the real world. And so what I would like for the school board is to help find ways to help the administrators and the staff to not only focus on addressing the issues, but understanding the long-term impacts so that we don't have the fallout that we've heard a couple of times now. Thank you.
I didn't make the last meeting. I think it was the last meeting where it got brought up or it was talked about. And I think in the minutes in the paper, you guys said you were going to review it, kind of go through the details. I didn't get to make the last meeting, so I figured I'd come now, see if there was an update, if you guys had found anything out, what the thought process was, if that's going to continue. I have a daughter in that class. I didn't appreciate being surprised by that. I guess I think if that question is going to get asked, that's an email to the parents in August saying, hey, does your child want to be called anything different? But to throw it on all the kids, and some of them didn't even know what it was, so then have to have it explained to them, it just seems a little crazy to me. I guess I never saw it coming. I didn't think as long as my daughter was in elementary school, that would be a thing. I know one family pulled their kid, I believe, because they didn't want to deal with it anymore. So I guess is there any clarification? Has anything gone on since the last meeting on this subject? Because I know there's a lot of people that are fired up, you know. I can see an email home in the summer. Hey, welcome to the year. Here's the questions I'm asking. That kind of thing. Let us answer that question. Let us have that conversation when we want to. I don't think it's on the school to do that. And I think part of the problem too was I know my wife called and asked about it and tried to talk about it. Kind of felt like she was blown off. I know there's the other parent, I assume, felt the same way because they pulled their kid. So I know a lot of parents are fired up. Nobody's here, but I feel like somebody's got to say something. If people are upset, then I'm one of them. So, thank you.
What's your phone? 262 483.
And I think our last meeting is still online. Is that still accessible?
Yeah.
So I think some of those,
Well, I looked on the website, and I thought I did before I came here. I thought the last minutes was like April. We read it in the sounder.
well, if you could watch the video is still available.
The video's online, yeah, it's
So-
online.
You can, if you just go to the comments, the public comment section, skip to that.
Oh, okay.
It's in the same pretty much the same
Same
order as this.
Okay.
You could skip down to that and see what our reaction was
Okay.
to that was brought up.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that might help you a little
Okay.
bit.
I just did.
And then if,
I'll
Dr.
call.
Trimberger's
Yeah,
gonna
we can
call you
talk,
too,
that'd be great. Perfect.
so.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for coming, both
Thank
of
you
you.
both.
And you're welcome to stay, you're welcome to leave, whatever you need to do. That's okay.
Yeah. I'll go watch the YouTube video.
Okay, thank you for coming. Okay, so then we have the referendum discussion.
Okay. Couple things, you have the updates in here. So as you can see, exciting things happening. Today was a very busy day. If you remember on your calendars, it was the pre-bid walkthrough. And, you know, I think the piece that I'm most excited to share with the board is when we did our what do they call them? The contractors that were interested. There's a term for it. It's feeling my mind right now. What's that? Yeah, not the walk, but before that, the interest. We had 8 contractors that said they were interested in coming. What's that? Request for qualifications, that's it. We had 8 contractors submit, and all of them showed up today. So that's a really good sign, on things to come. I just want to give a shout out. Nate and the team were here earlier. I said they didn't have to stick around for today, but had a contractor, just kind of make a comment, say, you know, it's really smart of you guys to come and open this today. You're the first school in all this area that's actually going to bid. And I think thanks to the guidance from Bray and everything else, it puts us at a position that before all these contractors get busy with multiple schools, we're the first one for them to consider. So, we'll see how that works out, but, that was fantastic, and I think as of today, it's 1 month, so November 16th are when the bids have to be in. So, our next board meeting, we will see our initial, it'll be in closed session, but we'll have initially what those bids look like, and until then, I'm not gonna sleep too much, hoping that those bids come to what we thought they were gonna be. So, fun.
Great. Anybody have any questions? Great. That takes us into board, committee reports. And we did have a budget committee tonight. Getting prepped for, next week, so
It's our warm up.
I think we will have something later on the agenda, unless anybody else has anything to say right now. Okay. We'll save it, save all the fun. And building reports.
You did a great job, Lee.
Yeah, I
Thank
know.
you.
Yeah.
All right, so to start here today, talking about our in-service and our professional development, we're continuing our journey on standards, and now we're to the assessment practices. And so we spent that first part of the day talking about assessment practices. Teachers met with their PLCs with the help of coaches and just kind of helping guide them through the next steps for their content area. Along with that, we've been continuing our journey of framing the lesson. Susan and I both have been going around and looking for the 5 frames of and fundamentals of an excellent classroom. So helping the students understand the objective and then circling back to it at the end. And we're seeing that in a lot of the classes that we visit, which is really exciting. Last week during homecoming, we had the Curiosity Cube here, and even though it was raining, they were able to move inside, and they focused mainly on the 5th and 7th grades, but just had a lot of hands-on STEM activities for the students to engage with, so that was really positive and fun for everyone involved. We had parent-teacher conferences two different ways. We had this high school and the middle school through the open house on this past Wednesday. They had selected times where students could come and families could sign up and talk with their teachers. The elementary conferences have decided to go 2 nights again, just because it's our family's first chance to meet the teachers and be part of that community in the elementary school. So they're going to be conferences this week and next week. And then I'm going to turn it over to Susan.
So Blue Ribbon School Lighthouse Award. So as you remember last school year when we went through the Blue Ribbon process, the middle school had beacon status, which is just under Lighthouse, where the elementary and high school had the Lighthouse status, which is the top award. We resubmitted for the middle school, and middle school is now Lighthouse status as well. So we got all 3 levels on the highest level for the Blue Ribbon Award. So well done to the middle school staff. U.S. News World Report that Random Lake High School is ranked number 4, best in our county. We've been either number 3 or 4 for the last 4 years, so well done to the high school staff there on that great recognition. And AP School Honor Roll. This was something that we haven't had in quite a while, and we got the bronze medal for that. And what bronze means is that we have up to 40% of our junior class, junior and seniors, taking AP courses. So that is a really wonderful distinction for the staff and the students here at Random Lake. All right, turning it over to Strong Culture. Homecoming assemblies, we had elementary had a pep rally at the same time that the high school had their pep rally. Despite the rain, we had a great parade indoors. It was really a neat idea done by the high school students, and the elementary really was full of pep as well, pep and spirit in support of the homecoming activities. I do want to give a special shout out to Haley Vandenbush, senior class advisor. She did a phenomenal job organizing and facilitating with the senior class all the wonderful activities that happened, concluding with homecoming dance Saturday night, which was really a lovely, lovely event. So October theme for middle school is creativity. We had our kickoff assembly last week, Wednesday. And as part of that, each month we have a theme, but then we also have a community service project. So with that, they are selling Ghost Grams, which is supporting dogs to dog tags. And so we had someone from the Dogs to Dogs tags at the assembly talking about that wonderful program that they do, which is supporting veterans who come back from scene combat and lining them up with a dog to kind of help with just their transition back.
All right, and then continuing on to Strong Communities, we had the fire department here last week, Monday. They did an explanation to our younger students about fire safety. They showed them, that was mainly focused on kitchen fires. They dressed up in their gear to show the students, like, if you see me in your house, don't be afraid. So it was really cool. The kids could touch their suits. We did have 2 classes, 4K and kindergarten, walk to the firehouse. I think they had a bus. I misspoke there. And they got to see the fire trucks and all of that stuff too as well. We have coming up at the end of October the PTO Trunk or Treat. And the PTO has just been doing just such a great job for our families and for our community and our school. So that will be held Halloween on the 31st. This past last 2 weeks ago, we had the craft fair, which again raised tons of money. This money helps support their field trips and other things within our schools, which is really awesome. And then we had the movie night that kicked off our homecoming week, which was really well attended. Even though it was cold, it still had great attendance. So awesome stuff.
If this is anything like winter's going to be, between having to make weather calls for open house in August and rain parades in October, I'm just hoping it's not this hard when we get to the snow flying. I've never had to make these calls before, and now we're like, well, we can't have a parade when it's raining sideways. So thank you for everyone. I think, again, we did the open house this last week, and it went fantastic. We did the parade inside, and the band was playing as we were marching around the school, and kids were getting candy. We did different ways to show the floats. So, you know, if there's a will, there's a way. So we got her done.
Great. Any questions?
On that school ranking where we're number 4, how many are there?
There are 14, 15.
Can you say who 1, 2, and 3 were?
Oh, I'm sorry, usual.
Duisburg, Kohler, Cedar Grove, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
We're Kohler, Cedar Grove.
And then us. So we're in good company. Sometimes we jump over one of them,
We
you
were
know, we
third,
go
yeah,
back and
third
forth.
last year.
What's that?
I think we were third last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were third. We all beat.
Better be sixth, seventh, or eighth.
Yeah, exactly. Still shooting for one though, you know, we'll keep going at it.
It'll happen.
All right, that takes us into the E-rate program and technology department with Lee here.
Yep, and I'm gonna talk loud enough so you don't, I don't need to hold the mic, but, so, this report all stems from, I was doing some research, found out that I'm supposed to give a report to you guys on E-rate once every 10 years. I haven't done it in 8.5 years, we can't find any record of it, so I decided instead of just getting up here to talk like for 2 minutes about E-rate, we combine it to like a year report on what we've been doing in tech, so go ahead and switch. So E-rate, schools only operate E-rate program. It's how we can provide awesome internet here to our kids, to our students, and basically we get discounts from the FCC. There's 2 categories. There's category 1, which is the internet access itself. There's no real limit on it. Category 2 is for the equipment and the services to provide it. Our discount rate's based on our premium reduced lunch rate, our percentage. I don't know what the formula is. I don't know if the FCC really knows what the formula is. Last year we were at 70%. Every year before that I've been here, we had been at 60. So, but it fluctuates. We'll get told here in about a month or so what our rate is for next year. It just kind of depends on whatever they set. Go for the next one. So category 1, we use it to pay for our internet from Spectrum. Last year, there's no limit. Last year we got just over $9,000 from them to pay for our internet. So we pay, like I said, about 30 cents on the dollar to get our internet coming in. So it's what helps us be able to have for the school districts in the area some of the best internet we have. Because I know a lot of other schools don't get as much as we do, but because of what we have set through this and how we work it, we're able to get it much better than what we used to get now that we're getting it through Spectrum. Category 2. So there's a 5-year budget for the district. It's $167 per student. It's set at the first year of the 5 years. So our budgeted amount was $123,747. We spent but basically $2,500 of it so far. We are really good at spending as much as possible. I've gotten really good at trying to find projects. So we upgraded our Wi-Fi, our firewall, and then moving our old main network room into our very nice server room in preparation for the referendum. So that was money we didn't actually have to have in the referendum. We won't know what our next budget is until the 2026 year. So there's nothing really we're going to be able to buy through this, at least the next couple of years, but that's just kind of how things worked. A lot of our projects we ordered and then COVID hit and we waited forever. So a lot of our stuff's come through. So that's E-rate. That's basically it. Before we continue, any questions? Because I really don't want to bore you with the whole process of how we do it all, you know, how we get bids and everything. It's a normal competitive bidding process, but
Just one thing.
yeah.
You see us continuing with Spectrum for the long-term future because of the quality of.
Yeah, quality and the pricing has been excellent. We have worked through, like, we've looked at stuff like trying to go with WiskNet, which does a whole lot of stuff with schools and libraries, and they have met the price of WiskNet or beaten it every year that we've looked at. They get us fiber straight to our building. We've had one outage, I think, in 5 years, and that was because someone ran over a cord, like down by Chicago. So we've been really lucky. It's been really great that anytime we've had issues, it hasn't been Spectrum. It's been other pieces of equipment or just other things that have happened that we've had to fix quickly, but they've been great.
And one follow-up to
Yeah.
that. Do we have it on the buses? Do I understand? We do have Wi-Fi on buses?
Yeah,
Separate or
so
is that
that's
together?
another piece, so that's another piece of E-rate called the Emergency Connectivity Fund. We have Wi-Fi on the buses, there's a small bug with it right now we're trying to work out. Hoping to have it fixed this week to where we will have Wi-Fi on the buses. As long as the bus is in a spot that gets Verizon, they'll be able to provide internet onto the bus on all of them. We still have the one waiting for when the electric bus gets here, so we can mount that in, so all of them will have it. We're one of a couple districts in the area that have used that ECF money for that, and it was 100% paid for. In fact, we got the check, this week, right? Yeah. So that means the equipment's all paid for, so that's kind of how that works. And that will run us after this year, right around $5,000 a year to pay for the service on the buses for the year, so. All right, so technology department, our big 3 goals: strong district tech, strong technology, safety and security, and strong technical and classroom support. Until I've been around Mike too long. But those are our 3 goals that we've set this year. Go to the next one. For district tech, this last year and this year, we've rolled out the ViewSonics to every classroom. I hear nothing but wonderful news about them. I see teachers using them every day. Like I talked about before, we consolidated our network room into our server room. You don't want to know what this looked like before. It was a big mess. We have upgraded our firewall and Wi-Fi systems. We got a few more access points to put up, but otherwise we are up and going. And we were able to provide this year, 50% of our students have brand new devices that they're using. So this is because we didn't do it last year, we were able to buy this year. And so we got half our school has brand new devices, which has lowered a lot of our issues this year, which has made things a little bit easier. There's always problems, but it's a little less. Go for the next one, Kim. Strong safety and security, and you guys know this, we deployed the EDR to the staff computers with Valor Tech. That has been a great saving. We've seen it block things. A lot of it ends up being stuff I'm testing on my computer, but it's also has done some stuff on the staff computers. We also upgraded to Microsoft 365, which has increased security on our student devices. And so it's caught kids trying to do things they're not supposed to, or kids accidentally clicking on things. I get emails quite often, off and on, about some kind of possible security issue, but it's keeping a very good eye on our stuff, it's helpful for basically keeping them protected. It's keeping the whole district connected. The nice thing about this is also checking our Google site as well, and any other connections that we're having. So it's protecting kind of all of us, all of our moving parts that we have on technology. And then strong tech and classroom support. Last year, we implemented a new, easier to use ticketing system. Staff and students can just hit a button on their keyboard and it'll automatically take a picture and be able to make it so it can send me a ticket so I know what's happening. I've been working with Miss Debbie Poole, our tech teacher. She's been working with me trying to help solve problems in classrooms when she's in there almost there, once a week, finding issues and either reaching out to me going, hey, they're having a problem with this or stuff. So that way we're able to get stuff solved. We meet once a week, try to kind of take care of those problems, or she lets me know what's going on. And it was last week I was able to go into, I have visited 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade classrooms, showing them the insides of a computer, being able to talk with them, building on their technology, and also talking about how better to take care of their devices, and basically not, so we have less breakage. So, and every classroom seemed to really enjoy being able to see the insides, and so they love that. So it was a fun time being able to connect with them a bit. So next one. So what we're doing for the next year, first thing, technology. We don't have any big projects because, we had this really big one coming, something about a referendum or something happening. So we're going to provide support for them. Anything they need, we're going to try to help that. We're still working on getting out our network access control to build with our Wi-Fi to make it easier for visitors and such to connect. We're working on multi-factor authentication so we can keep our staff and everyone protected so we don't get hit like some of our other school districts in the area have or all throughout the state. And we're working on bringing us in line with some security controls to make sure all our processes are up to date. And we're just trying to get more information out to our staff about how to fix things. So they can, if it's something easy, they can take care of themselves. Or so we remember what we need to do so we keep things going. I think that's it. Yeah, any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're doing a great job. I still have parents complaining about the speed of the computers and then parents buying the kid a new computer to replace the school one because it's too slow. Is that, 50%, like you said, got new computers, like
Yeah,
maybe
we
the
have
rest of them are coming in the
Yeah, I
future?
mean, the oldest computer a student has this year is actually down in kindergarten, and those are 4 years old. And the issue is that I have a budget of about $300
Right.
to $400 a computer,
Mhm.
and that still ends up being a lot of money.
Right,
So,
and more than you get per student.
yeah, I mean, and so we try
Mm-hmm.
to provide the best device that we can. But there's a lot of, but we still have to have the protection and everything else. Because if I gave them one with no protection, which made it go run faster,
Right,
then obviously we're hearing issues with those. So
right,
it's a battle that we fight. It's like, how do I provide a good device while also keeping it protected and also keeping us to where we're able to do all the other technology pieces we need to do.
right.
One thing we're doing with the network access control and everything is it'll be making it easier that if they do decide to bring their device, they will be able to connect and everything. They just won't have access to anything inside the building. And they won't be able, they won't be able to print or whatever, but they'll be able to use their device.
Okay,
And but it'll protect our network from whatever they have.
And early on, and Lee, you can kind of talk
Yeah.
about it. We had two of our safety systems fighting against each other early on that Lee had to kind of work out. We go and initiate some of these new things, a higher level of security, and sometimes there's some of that. You wanna-
Yeah, and it's like we had to go Guardian and the antivirus were fighting against each other. So we were able to make that change. That has sped things up. We're still kind of tweaking things. But, in most cases, a lot of times, folks are expected, are used to, they have a laptop at home that's a, $700, $800 laptop.
Right.
They're just used to that speed. Well, that's not, unfortunately, what I can provide. So I would love to, as I tell every student, I have seniors complaining, why do we get the oldest? Well, because it's the same device you've had for 4 years. And if I could buy everyone new devices every year, I would.
right,
I would lose my job really fast because that would waste a lot of money. But, it is what it is. We try very hard and we try to make sure our
Yeah.
stuff runs fast. And that's a lot of it's up in, that's why a lot of it's in the cloud, so they
Right.
just can access it with a web browser, which means if they want to use one at home, they can.
Mhm.
They have that ability.
Mhm.
So they just can't state test with a device other than the one they have here, because that's really the only requirement.
okay,
So
all right.
We buy all of our computers?
We do.
Have you guys looked at leasing or?
we have, and it's just cost wise, it kind of evens out really because I have old ones that I have sitting for spares and everything, so I can when I repair, so we do leasing with some things, like our servers are leased and everything like that, but with the computers, I mean, they're $300 a piece, so and I can't, a lot of times with parts, we can't even get the parts. Because I looked actually on our newest one, I looked on cost of the screen and where I can get it. I can't even buy it right now. It's out of stock. So we buy extra so we can just give a kid a new device. I mean, all these have become just like iPads. They're just disposable. So we'll probably look at it again, but we have a good partnership with our partner up in Green Bay, Camera Corner. They do a real good job at getting us a good price. They've fought manufacturers for us about when manufacturers screw up on orders. So we're usually getting some of the best pricing that we can see, and I haven't seen really where leasing for us has been a benefit. We look at it almost every year just to see what
So
kind
like
of
if you
benefit.
lease versus buy, so like it sounds like you're on a 4-year cycle. So
That's what we
you
try to
go
do.
Your freshman. All
Yeah,
through
that's,
it.
we
Like,
buy
you've
for
seen this in, like,
first, fifth, and ninth is what we buy every year. So, and then the first grader has that computer to fifth grade he gets a new one, and that's kind of what we roll through. So we'll probably look at it again, because the servers were the first technology we had leased. So we'll probably look at it again and see if there is a benefit.
is a leasing rotation different than our 4-year cycle?
It's probably about the same.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's about the same. I know with, Windows devices, because you can use them as long as they're being updated. But, we have seen you get past 4 years and they really start to drag. So sometimes it's even that 4th year. It gets also, but it's also how much they're doing it, which is why we wipe them every year to try to get it to them to a clean slate to them every year. So.
And this Go Guardian has really, really slowed it down. So,
I think at the beginning it was because we were we're dealing with how do we tune it, how do we make sure that certain things aren't being blocked, that sort of thing. I think it has sped it up a bit. We've sped it up a bit, but it also depends on what type of computer the students have. Senior computers, which are, like I said, around 3-4 years old, those are running a little slower, so they do handle the Go Guardian stuff a little slower. We have to be careful though, because if I start whitelisting everything, tell Go Guardian not to look at it, then teachers can't see what's happening in the classroom, or if a kid's on a site that we use, but we're not using it in that class, they can't even close the tab through Go Guardian, which they usually can't. So we're trying to walk the line of speeding it up, but also making sure the teachers have what they need. So.
Is there a preference from your point to have like school-owned computers versus personal computers? I mean, can help you guys from
I prefer the school-owned because then I know what we have, and I know that we're providing, that they're protected, and we have them all. Because even with the, protections I put in place on the network and that sort of thing, kid brings in a device that has something because they downloaded some software at home, and some hacker somehow can figure his way in. We try to put as much protections as we can, but if they get in that, get in the room in there, there's all our financial data and that kind of stuff is sitting in there. So, and then they go from there to try to get into our cloud stuff. So I prefer having it be our own. And it's also nice because then I'm able to support it, because it makes it a whole lot harder if I have to support Jimmy's iMac or MacBook Pro and Jen's, Windows device that's 20 years old, or whatever they decide. It makes it a little hard, and I don't like telling kids I can't do anything about it because it's not mine, it's not ours. Whereas if it's our device, we can support it and do well with it. So.
the internet on the buses, what drove that? Is that like a common thing?
Well, so the emergency connectivity fund came out during COVID. And some of the options, Mark, and we used some of the money for hotspots. So the hotspot sets that we have the first year where they were everything was paid for on them. And then there's another bank of, basically money that came out. And one of the things that I was talking with our transportation director, one of the things she mentioned was, it would be nice to have Wi-Fi on the buses. You know, for those long trips to, if we have to go up to Markesan up for a basketball game, still remember that trip. Or other or we have kids on the buses for about an hour, on some of them, the last drop off, and it was like, well, if they have something that can help them either keep entertained or even just doing their homework or whatever, that is where that came from. And so we were able to get that. This year, everything is 100% paid. So we didn't have, the ECF is nice where that's 100% paid for. So all the equipment is no cost to us. This year's service is no cost to us. We just have to, if we want to keep it, we just have to keep paying for the service. The internet is filtered, so it's not a wide open, anyone can do anything. There is a filter that is on it, that is a school-based filter that we can even adjust. So say we want to block some other things. And it's there for folks to be able, so, you know, for kids to be able to use it. The nice thing also is if they, you know, say there's a big internet outage in here, Verizon's still working, but say like CenturyLink or whatever drops, we could park buses in certain areas and people could come up and connect to them and be able to do, because I know folks are doing, other schools in other areas were doing that with their buses during COVID, allowing families to come up and park near the bus and connect their devices and do stuff like that. So there is that option, you know, in case that was something we wanted to look at doing. But it was an opportunity that we had to potentially provide, you know, a service to the kids to be able to, you know, try, basically do things while they're riding on the bus instead of sitting there and hitting their next door neighbor or whatever, you know, have something to keep them entertained and also possibly they can get their homework done before they get home. So
Have we noticed behavior at all, kids on the bus? I know as we're watching, sometimes we're watching video, have we seen students on their devices or listening to music type thing? You know, so.
Is there a way to, like, you'll get a usage?
once we have it all up and running, I'll have full usage information. I'll be able to tell who's connected. We also will be able to tell, especially through GoGuardian as well, be able to see for those who are on the buses, for what times. So yeah, we'll be able to tell.
One time we had Brian.
Yeah.
We were gonna pilot, I think, like a security program.
That's what we ended up purchasing from them,
Oh.
the EDR. And actually we have just finished working with getting our backup and all set to be sent out to them. We have that, so in case we lost everything here, we still have a backup of everything. So, yeah, we're running with them right now. And that's part of the security stuff that's running great. It's,
And
protection
EDR
of
is
staff.
endpoint detection. So it looks at where emails are coming from, like, you know, Yugoslavia, Russia,
Yeah.
China, things like that, and it helps filter our system.
Yeah, it's
So
that,
we've
it's web
caught
usage.
some-
it's behavior. So if somehow your computer's doing something you don't normally do, you know, it's a whole lot of different things it looks at.
Well, thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you, Lee.
Next, we have students pursuing college course studies.
Yes, so this year we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, possibly 10 students. Oh, I'm sorry, 12. We could go add-ons here of students taking classes, everything from coding at Lakeland, Calculus 2 at UW Sheboygan. We have medical terminology. We have 3 students doing that. Intro to criminal justice 1, welding 1, auto mechanics, culinary arts, and CAB. So you know what, we try to get as many of our students doing these things. So love seeing how many students are actually taking this stuff.
Great. Next, we have the 2023-24 budget.
That's me.
All right.
Well, first of all, I can say that it's balanced. We are gonna be presenting a balanced budget. This is proposed, I got actual numbers on Friday, so what we're gonna deal with next week is the actual numbers I figured to talk about tonight was, if you're looking at the budget, that was what was in the sounder. Fund 10 is at 10,068. Our actual last year was 10, in expenditures was 10,694. Our revenues are up. The reason those revenues are up is because of ESSER funds. And the most important number of this budget is if you go way to the bottom where it says proposed property tax levy, and you're gonna see a line that says total school levy. And that number's at $6,979,183. And the reason it's important is because it's less than last year's. So that is something that I want you guys, that's a good message to go out, that we're trying to keep that under last year's, keep the impact on the community down. Which in turn makes our mill rate 805, which is $1.09 less than last year, or almost 12%. Some important numbers that make up those funds, we received 11,000 per student this year, that's up 1,000 from last year. One other number that's included in there is, I am estimating $133,597 on private school voucher aid. And I just want you to realize that that's adding 15 cents to our levy. So our levy would be 15 cents less without that. I have the actual number that I just got that did not make the publication, and then I'll present next week. Everything else is, any other questions? Does anybody have on anything in that?
If you could scroll back, I just want to kind of reiterate the most important numbers here. So everybody was at fourth from the bottom, fifth from the bottom, total school levy. That's the total amount that we are taxing. So you can see from 6.98 down to 6.97, the total amount that we are levying is less than last year. And by doing that, we know property values are going up, but we believe that most people's property taxes should be, we can't promise this because everyone's house, some increase 15%, some are 10%, we don't know how that works. But as general, we can say as a taxing entity, we have less taxes that we're asking on the school levy, and our mill rate is dropping by nearly 12%. So, yeah, so we're in a really, really good place. You know what, we made a promise to our community when we passed the referendum that we would never, ever ask for more than 914. And we are sticking to our word and actually doing some things of dropping it pretty steadily. So I think we were nervous a little bit early on, especially with the increase in per pupil allocation going up. But some of our pre-planning and the things we've done in the years up to this has put us in a spot where I can tell you not a lot of districts are in the spot. So.
I have a question about what's source 800 and 900? That funding's changed a lot. Which up at the top under revenues and other financing sources, source 800 plus 900. Other sources. That's where E-rate goes. That's where insurance refunds go. So it varies every year. Okay. I try to do the best estimate. Like on our workman's comp, if we risk it or we take a real number, that we'll get money back if we stay under claims. So I mean that number's always different. Well, the year before it was at 500. That was because of the new Gadsby law that said we had the auditors use that revenue account to offset the leases. There's a whole new law that went into effect last year, with just shifting funds around. The bus leases are where all the leases.
So a few years, was that 2 years ago, the federal government said, because we used to do a lot of leasing and things like that, and we would just say what we paid for that lease. The federal government wants to know what kind of liabilities we have out there, so not just what we're paying this, but they want to know what our future liabilities are. So part of that transition is, ask Patty, she loves GASB, it's GASB. And I'm sure you know what that means.
And now there's another, and now this year they did it with subscription. But our auditors are going to determine, I think that it's minor, the impact of it. Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff we thought we were going to have to keep track of. No, not really. So we, if they say it, that's
So, and it's good trying to be more transparent. What are your leads, but what are your liabilities? Those are all those things. So, yeah. And that the reason it's 562,000 up there, it was the transition year. Is that what it was? Yeah. We were paying off a lot of leases, yeah.
Thank you, Patty.
So a point of order here. We need to approve the proposed 2023-24 budget. Is that correct?
Correct? Okay.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Chuck, is there a second?
I'll second.
Amy? Any questions or discussion?
I do have a couple questions. Just want to look at just changes in some of the funds. I know we're going to talk about Fund 80. So I guess I can save that question for that. So on Fund 21 and 27, that one I'm seeing an increase. It looks like we're getting back to how we were in 21, 22. But I just wondered what the increase was. It looks like the other ones,
Well, if you'll notice, if you notice on the transfer down there, where the negative 812,000, our Fund 27 is up a little bit more. We have increased, there's just more services that are needed for our students,
127 special ed.
especially. Okay.
Yep, yep.
And included it, and the activities is also included in that, for the gifts and donations, activities accounts are in there.
and then it looks like the referendum is helping us a lot with the capital project. We're able to just, that's helped us keep the levy.
Okay, actually, I transferred from the general fund this year, 315,000 over to the capital fund. Okay. Use in the future.
So that's money that we took from last year into this fund balance to help pay that, from savings that we found from last year's budget. So we pushed it forward and have it there for, projects to help us with the referendum or anything we need.
Right.
So that's 350,000.
Because there's some things that we're going to do in-house.
Yep. So when we talked about the storm sewer, elementary playgrounds and those other things, those are all pieces that we were able to put up at, once we know what our bids come back in a month, then we can start seeing what other things we can do with money we save.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we have the Fund 80 levy.
So with Fund 80, I guess I would just say, it is being reduced. I know there has been some, talk about our Fund 80 and how much it is. There's two things to remember with Fund 80. A lot of the Fund 80 is not taxed. So when we look at, and I'm trying to look on here where it has,
And revenues and expenditures, it's
Yep.
about 661,000.
that's our daycare. So,
Well, that's this plus our.
right. And our daycare, remember, is meant to be zero sum. It's really the place where they run the business of being a daycare. So the true number of Fund 80 is, what is that? Are those numbers that are up there, that is what we're taxing for. And that number is $30,000 less than last year, right? 30 and 40.
Is there a motion to approve the Fund 80 levy? Chris, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Chuck? Any other questions or discussion?
What's all included in the community recreation program? And is that wages then too, or? And what's the community athletics? Middle school wages of,
Middle school
Athletic?
AD and, middle school sports.
who's our middle school AD?
Could be Brandon, part of this is middle school and high school.
Who's the big, what's the job?
Used to be, well, Pam Rogers did it for a
Pam
little
Rogers
bit,
did
and
it.
Brian Kay did it, yeah.
Yeah.
So where is high school sports?
That's not in Fund 80, you can't, that is part of our Fund 10, so that doesn't come out of Fund 80. You can do middle school because it's open to all students, not just Random Lake students, where once you get into WIA sports, it has to be just our students, so it's not eligible for Fund 80.
So why is it called community athletics if it's middle school?
Because it's open to all students in middle school and that live in our attendance area, not just our middle school students. Because part of Fund 80 has to be open to all community, not just schools, so that's why it's community athletics,
Or homeschool,
homeschool, yeah.
could come out.
And the community education program, that's gifted and
Yeah,
talented?
it's gifted in town, but some of the work that she does is help placing our students in the community to do jobs, do, service projects, community service, youth apprenticeship, just kind of building relationships with the community and helping get kids out.
The community resource officer, Billy Todd,
Todd in his supplies and the things
Supplies and
he needs
all
and
that.
all that other good stuff.
I should know this, but I don't recall anymore. Did we get any funding from the village for his position?
We tax it all, but the village pays him, but we pay him because of WRS rules. We work around that. So we're the taxing entity that pays his whole salary. But because of how the regulations work for full time.
No, they pay half the portion of the salary, and we pay a portion of the salary, and then we
Reimburse
just
them.
Andrew, he also gets paid from us.
Right. But we do the whole full amount is taxed through us. Yes. And then they bill us for what they pay.
Okay. There was I thought there was a
There is a
component from the
component.
village. Okay.
What middle school athletic programs are under community athletics?
Wrestling? Cross country, yeah. And just the school sports are currently under there. So we have other community groups that aren't covered.
A lot of money.
Get the stuff done though.
Trying to.
The daycare's budget is about 400. Does that sound right? The daycare's budget is about 400,000 a year?
What? For the daycares, because you just take the 661 minus the 240,
Yeah.
250, yeah. Yeah, there's a point of celebration. They're 3-star again, so still working to get the 4 and 5, but that's a big congratulations to that group.
And the fees for daycare, is that covering their budget?
Consider the after school program, which should be a really, that should be a good extra bonus for them.
Any other questions on Fund 80? No, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have new staff. Veronica Zambrano, right?
Yes, and she came back to us. She left for family reasons about a year and a half ago, so we're very, very happy to have her back.
And Harlan?
Here.
Parkinson?
Yes.
Ms.
Yes,
Parkinson?
and actually, she is a registered nurse. She's helping out with Mrs. Kurth and Mrs. Stout on Fridays. So we have somebody in there for the day that wasn't covered, so Ariel,
Arieli.
yes.
There we go.
Getting
Thank
too
you.
late in the day, but no, fantastic. We feel very, very fortunate. We have a very good health room staff now.
Great. And then that brings us to our third Friday count.
Okay,
That's
so that is me. There you go. I was just waiting for the numbers
Getting late
to
in
pull
the
up.
day, I
It
didn't
is
know.
getting late. So there you go. You can see, I mean, our numbers hit pretty much what we had forecasted. We knew that losing that big class last year was going to have an impact, but as we look at it, we feel like we're going to be right around a 700 district here for the next 10 years plus, and hopefully we start seeing that go up.
Okay,
I just have a question. So 44 fourth grade students are open enrollment now. Am I reading that right? Did I read that
No,
wrong?
no. Includes 3 early childhood students at 0.5 equivalency. No, we have 44 4K students that are in our district.
In our district.
Yep.
I
And,
read that wrong.
and the other thing too is, going back to Fund 80, we're only reimbursed by the state at 60% of a full day. So we use Fund 80 to make that available to our families. So that's not inexpensive, but I can tell you, it's a great way to get families coming to the district sooner when you don't have daycare and we have classes outside. So it's been, I think it's been successful. And there was a talk that we almost needed to do 3 sections. 44 is getting kind of big if you think of 4-year-olds. So I'd love to see that number at 60, and then we'll worry about what that means.
Do you know, is that bigger than last year?
It's right around where we've been 40. I think it's a little bit bigger than last year. I don't know, Becky, I know it's a, yeah. But I do think it's a really good way. Think of parents that don't have to pay daycare for that half day and some of those other things, and our kids should be even bit more set by the time they start kindergarten.
all right.
So it looks like we're losing 126 open enrollment out and 69 open enrollment in, is that right?
Yes.
So do we reach out, like, I think I ask this question every year, but I really think we need to do a better job of this. Like, do we reach out to these families? Do we find out why they're leaving? Like, what can we do to improve this situation?
If you remember, this last year was the first year that our open enrollment, applications out met our open enrollments in. So that is the number that, when we look at how many new people are applying, we've dropped that gap from the highest since I've been here is a loss of 20 to, I think last year was -2. So, the families that are leaving for numerous reasons. Some of the biggest ones is because of how big our attendance area is. We have 90 square miles, and in some cases, it's quicker to drive to Northern Ozark than it is to go up to our district. So,
So you're saying the gap between 126 and 69 was wider and it's decreased now?
we're decreasing it, yeah. So, and every year we look at this now, and then in spring we will post what our applications for open enrollment in. And, we're starting to see more open enrollment in than we have in recent years.
Do we know what the cutoff is for the open enrollment in? Or it varies?
Varies, I would say, as a district, we're having some pretty successful stuff when you look at what's going on even today with AP, right, AP honor roll, middle school blue ribbon, what was the other one on today? What's that? Yeah, the US News, you know, in the area. Last year was open enrollment. We looked at ACT scores higher than, you know, other districts. So those type of things slowly, these numbers don't change. It takes years of just driving that Random Lake advantage out there. And I think those are some of the things that some of our communities are seeing. And hopefully we keep going, but it can be fickle sometimes, you know.
The numbers by class that's the highest open enrollment out are sophomore, junior, and senior. And then the trend looks like it's going down. There's a couple classes that are a little bit bigger, but the trend is definitely going down, which is the reason we're seeing. We'll see what those numbers stay more steady.
So it's like a 12-year process. Once you apply out, you're not gonna switch back as much. Most families stay there. So hopefully we're keeping our younger families and every year gets a little better.
So is that by like so when you say the applications out in are almost even, but these numbers are 50% apart, is that because you don't apply again the next year, or you have to apply every year?
No.
So once you out, right?
So if you think if we have 13 years where our applications are even, then that number will even up. So this is a 13-year dipstick of, actually you could say 14-year from 4K all the way up to 12th grade, where our applications are the year by year.
So is that what it looks like every year, that the three, you know, sophomore, junior, senior are always the higher classes? You know what I'm saying? Once a class moves up, is there more that enroll out?
Actually, so this year at, eighth grade level, I have 6 open enrolling out, and seniors, we have 16. So we're gonna have 16 next year, and then coming out of high school, there's only 6 that are open enrolling right now.
But then once they move up to high school, does that 6 grow to 10, or is it?
Does it stay constant, I think is what you're asking?
Yeah.
How many freshmen did we have this year?
The freshmen, total are open enrollment.
Total open enrollment.
8.
So it's and I haven't looked at the numbers. Every year we have less because we're graduating those that have been in other systems for the last 12, 13 years. And we don't have the number underneath it. So we'll probably have, if we graduate off 16, we may see 8 come back from, 4K. So we're dropping that number each time. So another 7 years, we'll have this number reversed. There we go.
Okay, any other questions? That takes us to informational items.
Okay, I'll fly through these. Veterans Day, November 10th. We have a really nice event. Shout out to Debbie Poole and Barber for really putting some really great things together with that. I'll be reaching out to our veterans this week now that homecoming's done to go from there. I did even see they were at the homecoming football game. They braved the cold to come out and did that. So that's on their radar. Please come out if you can. It's in the morning. The football community survey. At the last board meeting, you asked us to put together a community survey. We haven't released that yet. After creating the survey, the team, the district that we'd most likely co-op with wants to also send out the survey, and we're going to do it in unison once the season's over. And if you haven't heard, our season is going another week. We have a football game because the football team made the playoffs. So as soon as seasons are done for both the schools, that survey will be coming out, and we'll go from there. I did want to say there's some people that have talked about, well, we missed a deadline and all these other things. Those deadlines are not deadlines that we feel will apply to us. With the numbers that we're looking at, to go by a certain date would mean that if we co-opt, we wouldn't qualify for the playoffs next year. With the numbers we're looking at, we're really just trying to see if we can put a team together, and then we'll work with that. So, we'll see how that goes. Calendar update, really hope to have our 24-25 calendar. For this one, we had it all done, and then at our last planning, referendum planning meeting, Bray and team said, you know, it'd be really nice if we got an extra week in summer and we didn't start the 2 days before Labor Day like we have the last few years. So we talked as a team this morning, and we are going to start after Labor Day next year to give us a full 3 months of construction. So we will have a calendar for you for the November board meeting, which is the same time we had it for. So, kind of doing the same there. Again, November 27th, board retreat. I'll be setting up exactly where that is, but make sure we go. What time works for everybody? If we start, because I know it can get kind of late. Does a 5 o'clock work for everyone? Is that too early? 5 o'clock? I mean, we could do 4:30 if we wanted to.
5 is good by me.
Five?
I don't know the more working people here.
4:30 is about as early.
You say, just say 5?
At 5.
5 is good? Okay, so we will do 5 o'clock. And just reminder, you guys, we get the smiling faces, but we won't be in these seats. We'll be over in the auditorium. Or are we do? Did we? Where did we do the other one? Oh, should we do it back in here again? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if it's giant, we'll move it. So we will be in here. And what time does that start?
6:15 is budget hearing,
6:15.
6:30 meeting.
Go. It will not be streamed.
Great. Then that takes us into closed session. We need a motion to go into closed session as permitted under Wisconsin State Statutes, Chapter 19, Section 1985, 1F. Is there a motion? Katie, is there a second? Chris? This requires a roll call vote. Katie?
Aye.
Matt? Aye. Oh, yes.
Aye.
Amy, Chris,
Aye.
Chuck, Rainey. Okay. We are in closed session. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
We won't be taking any action after